By the way, I don't know if you can hear it, but the air conditioner's in quiet mode, but it's going, which is basically the low fan setting, but it's going. Well, good morning, Glue Troopers. You might be able to hear the rain outside. It's actually last night. I decided to sneak back out here after our little social event, and was going to rig the last piece of wire, of antenna wire, to the Corsair. And I find it staggeringly amazing that something that should have been so bloody simple turned into, it's the very last thing I was going to do on the airplane before it was going to go down on the shelf after some pictures. Well, the antenna gave way after several abortive attempts, just using a little flex line, not putting much tension on it, but I actually had it glued to the antenna, and I went back to the tailpiece, wrapped around, gave a little tug, a little, great, but it started pulling the antenna back. I was like, oh wow, all this time the glue hadn't hardened, so it's got to be paint intrusion. So I realized that the little hole had been largely closed up by the paint, so it got a little gummy, so I took the pen vise, poked a hole, remounted the antenna. I had to do the same thing for the pitot tube, by the way, on the left wingtip, the port wing. And I realized I'm just going to have to set it again and harden it and finish the antenna off overnight. Now, according to the instruction sheet, it actually has 2 antenna wires, so I left enough. I should be able to do both of them. Normally, I don't put antenna wires on 1/72 scale aircraft, but every once in a while I do, just sort of, I don't know, use something. Yeah, you know, it'll look good. You'll see it here. And it was on the instructions, so there you go. And I know a lot of us don't put antenna wires on, but you know, the funny thing is, this is a late war or post-war Corsair, and well, probably made late in the war, but a lot of things like the antenna arrangements are something that don't get a lot of attention. There's one Mustang version that has 2 antennas side by side but no cables. And that's because radio gear on airplanes varied with the theater of operation, the time of year. Some have antennas, some don't. A lot of times that antenna wire you see going from the nose to the tail could be an ADF wire, automatic direction finder. That's what the loop is for. On a lot of airplanes you have that loop antenna. And if I remember correctly, the way those old coffee grinder ADFs worked, you turned it, the pointer off, and just put it to tune, and it would use that big antenna to get the ADF, and you dial it in till you got it real strong. You hear the Morse code, beep, 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 beep. And when you got it as loud as you could, then you would turn it to pointer, and the needle would come to life. Now, a lot of times when that antenna would rotate, the round one would rotate as they're tuning in. You see, I didn't use any equipment that was quite that old. It had the same tech, but some have been automated. I used coffee grinder radios, but they didn't actually have the loop antenna, but they did still have the wire. But it's also possible that wire cable, if it's going to a straight antenna, a blade antenna, then it might have been just for picking up good old-fashioned radio. And because some of them didn't have antenna wires on them. Some of them, they went out to the wingtips. I believe usually and I probably got this wrong, some of you radio guys, I'm sure some of you guys leave in the comments the correct details. But I believe it's the lower the frequency, the longer the antenna has to be. By the time the military went to UHF or ultra high frequencies, I don't think the antenna wires were as important. Obviously, jets didn't have them. They couldn't because of the speeds they traveled at. But the long antennas are good for low frequency, which can travel a long way without. It's kind of interesting because all these airplanes all had different kinds of equipment. Bombers had dedicated radio operators, the stack of radios. A fighter plane just had, pilot had to operate everything. And I can tell you all about the modern avionics and antennas, but the old stuff gets a little confusing. I used to know some of this stuff. But, so if you know about the old airplanes, Corsairs, Mustangs, why some of them just had blade antennas, some had antenna wires, and I do know that the loop was part of the ADF system, and I think that teardrop bullet-shaped piece you see sticking out, and some of them might have been the other part. If that is the case, then if you saw a cable going fuselage to tail or wingtip to tail, that might have been ultra low frequency, or it could have. I'm not sure which one. I'm not even sure if that was ADF cable. Wow, gosh, I'm doing this all off the top of my head, trying to remember the stuff, and it gets a little confusing. Now I got to go look that stuff up, but getting the details right, and antenna length and all that stuff all had something to do with it. So, but normally, if it went from the tail to an actual spike antenna, I think that was for radios. I believe the automatic. Oh gosh, I'm talking out my backside here because I don't know why. I think this is more like these impressions I have from talking to the guys 40 years ago. So, well, yeah, just gave myself a homework assignment. All right, well, hopefully I will. I also got the cotton balls to start making the smoke for the Kuba wagon and the extra flame. And hopefully I'll finish the Corsair tomorrow, which by the time you're watching this will be later today. And the Kuba wagon gets started on that DH110. And that's all I got, guys. Take care of yourselves. Hope you're having a great day. We'll see you later. As always, model on.